Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in here to Murder Church on a special night, on a Tuesday night. Yes, we are continuing the Phil Spector murder trial. Episode 3 is upon us. Thank you for coming in here. Really appreciate it. Let people know that you're hanging out with Publicly Buzzed here tonight. Hit the like, share it out. Appreciate the folks on X. Appreciate the folks here on YouTube. Let's go. We're going to hang out for just a little bit. This is a really long trial, guys. And if you haven't watched episode 1 and 2, I would get on that because we're going to keep... This is going to be Murder Church for a minute. That's why I may honestly start doing a few more Murder Churches throughout the week. I'm excited about this trial. I'm in. Coming at you. Stick around.
Let's rock.
Yo, ladies and gentlemen, welcome in here. Publicly Buzzed Live is here with Murder Church on a Sunday. This is very rare. It might not be so rare with this trial, honestly. I'm interested as shit in this trial. It's a crazy one. And in real life, I think it was 6 months long. So it's going to be very long. I'm about to pop a cold one. If anybody had a hard day, I'm feeling you. And also, I bought this really cool. I put it on X yesterday. It's like this steel pint mug that you put in the freezer. Do a little bit of a beer inside of that son of a bitch. Man, it makes that thing frosty as hell. So I'm going to pour that thing out here. Thank you so much for being in here. Really appreciate it. Yeah, this trial is crazy. We left off with one of his exes who was on the stand. Should not just say ex. Her name is Dorothy Melvin. And we're going into the part 2 of her interview. This is going to be the cross-examination from the defense. And yeah, where we left off, basically she was talking about, or where we left off with her first part of the interview, her testifying, was that she was tortured by Phil Spector with a gun. He held her basically hostage, as he said that he felt that she had stolen something from his castle, from the mansion, and would not let her leave the property. And then when he did let her leave, the gate wouldn't open. And finally, she was able to get out and contact the police, where she said she wouldn't press charges if she could get her purse back. She left her purse behind. And Phil Spector, seemingly an absolute maniac, folks. Yeah, let's see who's hanging out in here tonight. Art with Viv hanging out. Laura's in here. Mia Beto's in here. MJ's hanging and banging. Welcome in, folks. Thank you very much. Dizzy. Chris Do It in the house. That's right. ECW, baby. Got my hat rocking. Let me get the chat in here first and foremost. Boom, boom, and boom. That way we can see what you folks are saying as well. See if I got that. See if I got that right. Yeah, ECW. ECW. Gabby, what's up? Pam, what's up? Disney Nerd coming through here. Carrie coming through here. Strict not in the house. Thank you all so much. Really appreciate it, guys. Again, I'm going to continue to cover the Karen Reed trial, but today I want to jump back in here. I'm jonesing a little bit for the Phil Spector trial. So hopefully you guys are as well. We're going to hit the bells. We got to hit the Tuesday bells, special church service, as we lift off the ground. Yes, yes, yes. Bells are out. I know Viv is happy about the bells, baby. Well, we're going to jump right in here again. If you left off with us on Sunday, if you haven't watched episode 1 and 2, do it. Get on that. You'll still be early enough to where this is not going to get away from you. And we're going to get in here, folks. We're jumping in. Jumping in right now. Wrong screen. Boom. Murder Church screen, baby. Let's do it.
I think you indicated that this photo was taken at a Christmas party, either 92 or 93, maybe 91. Is that right?
That's correct.
And obviously, in the photo, you're on the right. Mr. Spector is on the left, correct?
Correct.
Mr. Spector has on some sunglasses, doesn't he?
Chris, do it. Thanks for hanging out in here tonight also, brother. But I'm working on something with Chris, and I'm hoping to get Bob involved also. So keep eyes peeled for that. Chris Stewart, friend of the channel, and honestly, I love Chris, man. He's one of my favorite guests that we've ever had on here. We had a stint, and I've talked to him about this privately, a stint where we did tons of interviews, right? I was doing interviews. I was on the interview bandwagon. Jay was killing interviews. Jay still kills interviews, but the interviews, it felt a little bit more awkward for me. I had some good ones, the Kerry Rawson one was absolutely amazing. Had some fun doing interviews. Chris Stewart, I would like to think that actually became real life actual friends out of our time, and he's been on the channel many times. Chris is the fucking man, and yeah, we got some stuff planned coming.
Yes.
And he's got on a blue shirt, right? Looks like a blue silk shirt with white buttons, correct?
It actually was black.
Okay, but in the picture up there it looks blue,
It
doesn't it?
shines blue.
And he has on, it looks like a sport coat or a suit coat, isn't that right?
It's a tuxedo jacket.
Okay. It looks like there's something over on the right lapel. It looks like it might be something like a red ribbon.
He always wears a red ribbon.
And what does that signify?
That was in memory of his...
He had a son that passed away at 9 years old, isn't that?
Now that audio, I think that's part of the actual trial. They've had a few video issues as well, so.
Was something that affected him tremendously, didn't it? He spoke to you
Yes.
about it, didn't he?
Many times.
It was a very, very sensitive and a very difficult subject for him.
Could it be any more perfect timing for her to put her arm around him, and as he's looking up to her, remember, he's sitting on her lap.
Wasn't it?
The loss of a child is very difficult. Yes, it was difficult.
Look
for
at
him.
him. How dare they say this about me, Mummy? Yeah, bro.
Can we have that taken off and I think People's 2, please? Thank you very much. You see that?
Yeah, that audio issue, that's not me. That's
On
actually
the
part of the
overhead
trial.
screen for you to look at. I think you indicated, you said, I saw these photos.
I apologize for the past trial.
You said that, didn't you?
But it did.
And when you said I saw these photos, what it suggested to me is that you had seen these before you stepped into the courtroom here this afternoon. That's correct, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
When was the last time you saw those before, say, 15 or 20 minutes ago when you testified about them?
I never saw them before. I never saw aerials.
Okay. The first time you've seen that
Welcome in,
exhibit,
Gail.
which is up on the board right now or on the screen, was here this afternoon?
Yes, it was.
But that was not the first time that you spoke with Mr. Dixon, was it? Here this
Yes.
afternoon in court.
I never met Mr. Dixon before.
Okay.
Before today.
Before today? When did you meet him today?
Upstairs today.
Did you speak with him before you testified?
Yes, I did.
Did you speak with Mr. Jackson at all?
For a couple of minutes also.
Okay. How many times did you speak with either Mr. Jackson or Mr. Dixon before you came into court and testified? And when I say that, I'm not, let me just add something. When I say that, I don't mean necessarily vis-a-vis, not face-to-face, even if it's on the phone or through email or any other type of communication device. How many times have you spoken with them before you testified?
I don't recall ever speaking with Mr. Dixon.
Okay. How about Mr. Jackson?
Mr. Jackson, I think twice.
And how long were those conversations?
The first time was, I think, about half an hour.
And you talked about your testimony, correct?
Yes.
Okay. When was that?
2-3 months ago.
And between 2 and 3 months ago and today, you spoke with Mr. Jackson again, because you said twice. When was the next time you spoke with him?
On the telephone would have been right around March 22nd.
Of this year.
Yes, I was leaving the country.
Okay. How long did you speak with him at that time?
Just a few moments.
Was it just to inform him that you were leaving the country and that you would return?
No,
Okay, you've answered the question. How long have you been out? You live in New York, correct?
no, I retired. I moved to California permanently.
Okay. Let me ask you this. Within the last couple of weeks, have you spoke to anybody from the prosecution team in terms of preparation of your testimony?
No.
Had you today come to this building? Earlier today, this morning?
Had I come to this building?
Yes. Did you come to this building earlier this morning?
Yes.
Okay.
But not earlier this morning, this afternoon.
Did you look at anything or read anything between the time that you arrived at the building until the time that you got up on the witness stand?
I looked at the photo of the Arroyo house that is up right now.
These photos here.
Yes, these photos.
So you had seen these before? You saw them this morning?
Yeah, that's
This
what I said,
afternoon?
not before today.
Okay. What else did you
And,
look at?
I tried to look at the grand jury testimony, but I didn't have time. What I saw jived with my memory.
All right. And that was your grand jury testimony, correct?
Yes.
Because you were called before the grand jury. You did testify there, didn't you?
I was subpoenaed, yes.
I didn't ask you that. I'll ask you, did you?
Okay, let's not.
I did.
Wait just a second. We're not going to have those kinds of exchanges between counsel and the witness. If you want to make an objection or move to
Very
strike
well.
something, that's fine, but not that kind of interplay.
Calm her down, bud.
Okay.
A little bit of Yannetti today, wasn't it? I didn't ask you that. He's a little bit nicer about it, though.
You indicated that when you came out to California in '93, I think you indicated you were bi-coastal, is that correct?
That's correct.
And you came out for the 4th of July weekend, is that right? To spend about a week to see family and friends.
Correct.
All right. And I think you indicated that when you arrived, you went over to Mr. Spector's house. He had given you instructions how to get there in Pasadena, correct?
Correct.
All right. And I think you described the evening as a very lovely evening, a delightful evening. Is that correct?
Yes.
What time did you get to his house?
I can imagine any evening with Phil Spector as delightful. Huh?
It was somewhere around 9:10 p.m.
9:30, 10?
Yeah. I don't recall the time. I had flown in from New York and stopped to see my parents, picked up my car, and then continued.
All right. And then as I understand it, at some point that evening you fell asleep. Is that right?
I did.
And that was about midnight?
It was in the middle of the night sometime, midnight, 1 a.m.
Okay. And as I understand it, there was music, correct?
Yes,
Mr. Spector played the piano for you, correct?
he did.
The two of you danced together, right?
We did.
And I think you said that Mr. Spector drank, is that correct?
He did.
And you described what he drank. You described it as being from a bottle with a glass handle, is that right?
Yes.
And it was about this big, is that correct? Is that
Yeah,
big?
it was the fifth, I guess.
A fifth?
Yeah, it's got the big one with the glass handle.
Okay, that's a half gallon.
Well,
That's half
okay.
gallon.
that's called for speculation.
Sustained, there's other sizes as well. It could be anything, so the objection is
Well, the
sustained.
judge is like, hey, I'm a drinker. I know that there's other sizes with the handle. It doesn't have to be a half gallon.
About this big, you're showing about, say what, about 18 inches, something like that, 16 inches?
She's indicating closer to 10 to 12 inches.
10 to 12 inches. It was roundish,
Yes.
and it had a glass handle.
Yes.
And when you indicated when the evening started that it was fairly up to the top, and by the time Mr. Spector finished drinking, there was only a little bit at the bottom. Is that right?
It was at the top of the label when he first brought it out and put it on the piano, because I was standing by the piano. And towards the end of the evening, it was about,
I think
I'm sorry.
that's about 3 inches.
Okay. And he was the only one to consume from that bottle. Is that right? You did not.
I did not.
And there was no one else in the house that evening, so it was only him.
That's correct.
So that amount of alcohol was consumed by him over approximately, say, 2.5, 3 hour period. Is that a fair estimate?
Gotta have a liquor drink. Perfect opportunity, which I rarely use now, but the perfect opportunity presents itself, and I shall use it.
I'm sober enough to know what I'm doing, and I'm drunk enough to really enjoy doing it.
Thank you, the great Jim Leahy.
I have no idea, because I fell asleep.
At the time that you fell asleep is when you noticed the bottle only had 2 or 3 inches at the bottom,
No,
correct?
at the time I woke up is when I saw the bottle.
Okay. When you fell asleep, how much alcohol was left in the bottle?
I didn't look.
Now, as I understand it, there was a period of time during the evening where Mr. Spector disappeared, is that right?
Yes,
And you indicated in answer to Mr. Dixon's questions that wasn't unusual, that had happened previously, correct?
correct.
So when he disappeared, he went away, I think you indicated, for an hour or two. You weren't surprised, right?
No,
And during that time, he left you alone, correct?
yes,
Okay. Now, as I understand, you called on the Pasadena Police Department for assistance. That's right, isn't it?
Yes,
And 2 officers wound up eventually going with you along with the sergeant to the residence, correct?
initially the 2 and then the sergeant joined.
Okay. And you recall one of the 2's names as Officer Russ, is that right?
Yes,
How did you remember his name since it occurred about 14 years ago?
I saw him upstairs today.
Correct. You didn't remember the name from then. It was because you
At
saw
that point, no, I didn't remember the name.
We can't talk at the same time. Okay, you may think I finished my question, but please let me because it's very difficult for
I
the report.
apologize.
It's okay.
Calm her down, bud. Calm her down. Just say excuse me. Excuse me ain't that hard.
Hey, it's not a
I
problem.
don't like this guy at all.
Just we
I'm ready
can't
to
talk
fight
at the
this
same
guy.
time. It makes it very difficult for her, okay? All right.
Oh my
So,
God, he said all
when
right
you
after.
remembered his name is Officer Russ. It's because you saw him today, and I assume the 2 of you were either introduced or you introduced each
I'm
other.
ready to fight
That's
this man.
correct.
All right. Not because you remember it from
Fuck.
14 years ago.
I
Correct.
hate people like
By
that,
the way, is
dude.
Russ his first or last name?
I'm so, I
Last
don't
name.
even know how.
Last name, thank you.
Like, for real.
Now, there was a police report that was prepared by the Pasadena Police Department as a result of you contacting them. Isn't that correct?
Yes,
Dude! Yes, you fucking nailed it, bro. Holy shit. Look what I can do. Hold on, bro.
And,
Oh my God.
In that police report, it reflected your
I gotta pop this up for
conversations
anybody that
with
doesn't
the
know who Stewart
officers
is.
on July 3rd of 93. Is that correct?
Jackson assumes that's not evidence that she's read it.
Sustained. Rephrase.
Sure. Have you seen the police report?
I did not read it.
Have you seen it?
I saw it laying on the table, I didn't look at it,
Oh my God,
And
bro.
was there some reason why you didn't look at it?
because I was going in to talk to Mr. Dixon.
Okay. Am I correct that you told those officers at that time,
Oh God.
and that would be Officer Russ, and the other officer was a man named Dahlstein, spelled D-A-H-L-S-T-E-I-N.
Look what I can do.
Am I
I
correct
gotta
in
get the
indicating that
soundbite.
you told them that you did not desire to prosecute or further any police intervention?
At what point are you referring?
At some point when you were in their presence,
We need a new wig, sir. You better have a new wig on at some point very soon in this trial.
you talked to them, did you tell them that you did not desire prosecution of Mr. Spector nor any further police intervention after you got your purse back?
That's difficult to answer because it was at the end. I said I didn't want to prosecute.
When you say at the end, after the event was over, you told them that you did not want to prosecute and you didn't want any further police intervention. Isn't
There are
that
two,
correct?
actually twice that I
Well,
told
let
him
me-
that.
Let me, twice you told them that.
Yeah, yes, yeah.
Well, so you did tell them, and it was twice that you told them.
I need to elaborate,
Go
otherwise
ahead.
I can't.
If you need to, you may.
The first time was when I was at the police station and I told them that I really just
Dude,
wanted
that
my
guy's
handbag
face.
back and to get out of there. And I would not prosecute if they got my handbag back. The second time was after they had him in handcuffs. And I had my handbag and I just wanted to leave and I wanted it over.
Okay?
Sorry.
Would the reporter read back the latter part of the answer?
Yes. After the first time when I was at the police station, I told them that I really just wanted my handbag back and to get out of there, and I would not prosecute if they got my handbag back. The second time was after they had him in handcuffs, and I had my handbag, and I just wanted to leave, and I wanted it over.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
As I understand it, you had a dating and an intimate relationship with Mr. Spector from about 1989 to about 1993. Is that correct?
Somewhere early 90s. I thought it was 89, 90. I didn't commit it to memory. It was over a course of 2 or 3 years.
Okay. But you wouldn't quarrel with it if I said to you that it could have stretched from 89 to 93, correct?
It could be correct, yes.
Okay. It is correct, isn't it, that you described, well, strike that. Let me ask it this way. At a later time, You told us that you spoke with Mr. Jackson on the phone and Mr. Dixon today, is that correct? Previously.
Previously, I never spoke with Mr. Dixon before today.
I said, you spoke with Mr. Dixon today and Mr. Jackson previously.
Correct.
Have you ever spoken with anybody else about your testimony here in court today other than Mr. Dixon, Mr. Jackson, or Officer Russ or Dahlstein when you made the original report in July of '93?
Was it Joan Rivers? Laura comes through. Hey, Steve, for the heathens that missed Sunday, can you tell us who this lady is still working for? Can't read much. I think that's what you were asking anyways. But I think... what was it? Yo, PJ, welcome in here.
I'm clear on this, too.
Have you
I think it was Joan Rivers. Am I crazy? Anybody else remember that? Oh, who is the lady testifying? Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, because she works for a famous person. My bad. I misunderstood your question. Dorothy Melvin is who this is. And one of the girlfriends, former girlfriends, person who dated Phil Spector at one point. But yeah, she is the, whatever you want to call it, the right hand, the publicist. I don't remember her exact title, but of another famous person. And I think it was Joan Rivers, if I'm not mistaken. I could be mistaken on that though, but it's in episode 2 if you want to go back.
any discussions about
Oh yeah, no.
the
Yeah, I
incidents you
misunderstood.
testified
Sorry.
to today at any time with anyone, with the exceptions of the district attorneys or the police officers involved?
With Douglas Servino, who was the initial district attorney.
Mr. Sortino.
Sortino, I'm sorry.
Okay, and when did you talk to him about it?
When they contacted me about going in front of the grand jury.
Okay, and you did go in front of the grand jury, correct?
Yes, I did.
And he prepared you before you went in, didn't he?
We talked about my testimony.
Correct. He spent time with you. He
Welcome
didn't
in,
just throw
Debbie.
you up on the witness stand in there. He prepared you and then you went in, right?
Well, he listened to the story, yes.
Okay. And was there anyone else you spoke to about this?
There was various law enforcement people along the way.
In fact,
Rich Tomlin, Detective Fournier, who initially showed at my door, and currently my own attorney, Daniel Brookman.
and he's here in court today, isn't he?
He is in court today.
So you spoken with the prosecutors, you spoke with the officers from Pasadena PD, you spoke with Mr. Sortino, and you spoke with Mr. Tomlin or Mr. Fournier, and possibly other individuals from law enforcement about your story, correct?
Correct. No others really come to mind right now.
All right.
Oh, an investigator. There was an investigator.
So if I'm
But-
counting, excuse me?
But we didn't really talk about the story.
Hey, anybody just coming through late, I appreciate it, first of all. Thank y'all so much. And this is strange, but I do plan on doing more episodes of Murder Church, maybe even randomly through the week with this one. Because this is a real-life 6-month-long trial. It's going to be super long, and I'm not going to lie. I was jonesing for it today. I'm really into this one. So I probably will start coming through randomly with Murder Churches. So, yeah, keep eyes on socials, on everything. You know, I'm not going to have a direct schedule. A Sunday will always be a Murder Church, but yeah, Tuesdays may be a good day for it because I'm usually alone on here anyways, and unless it's, something that I want to cover. I mean, at night I've been doing the Karen Reed stuff, stuff that happened during the day that I maybe missed or would just like to rewatch, which, that will continue also. But keep your eyes peeled for Murder Churches as I do this because, I mean, you never know.
We just talked about just whatever he was looking. I don't recall.
When were you first contacted by anyone from law enforcement or the prosecutor's team about your testimony?
Mr. Rosen, I'm sorry, I couldn't give you a date. I don't know.
Can you give me a distance in time? A year ago, year and a half ago, 2 years ago?
No, I would think it was 3 or 4 years ago.
So over this 3 or 4 year period of time, sporadically, you have spoken with somebody from either the prosecution team or law enforcement about this. Isn't that a fair statement?
That is a fair statement.
In speaking with investigators Fournier, and that's spelled Fournier, and Tomlin, Tomlin, I understand it that you told them that you felt that Mr. Spector's behavior regarding the incident that you described was
Just the look,
bizarre
I mean,
and erratic. That's a fair statement.
How could
isn't
you
it?
even testify with this guy staring at you, dude? I mean, those eyes, this guy.
Yes.
That's how you describe
That's
it.
not how I should be watching this at all.
And you felt that
I
way
just
when,
can't.
in fact, it happened.
I'll admit, in
right?
episode 2, the Baden lady, I think that's how you pronounce her last name, that now works for Law and Crime Network, her opening statement was pretty fucking good. Like, it had me going, like, I don't know, the chat was kind of going like, wait a minute, what? But
It was bizarre and erratic. That's why you use those terms, correct?
I suppose in retrospect, yes. At that moment, I was scared.
Now, as I understand it,
all week long, baby.
when this occurred, you indicated that you were struck twice, correct? That's what
Correct.
you've testified to.
Correct.
And in both instances, you were struck with the hand that held the handgun, correct?
Correct.
And in one instance, I think you indicated you felt something sharp that struck you on the scalp. Is that right?
Yes.
And you've pointed out here in court today the 2 areas where you were struck. Is that right?
Yes.
And I think you even went so far as to say that one of the areas you applied Neosporin because it was bleeding, correct?
There was a slight cut, yeah.
And you testified before the grand jury about this, didn't you?
I did.
And you indicated in the grand jury, as well as today, that you pointed out these injuries to the officers, correct?
I did.
And that would have been Officer Russ and his partner, Officer Dalston, right?
Correct.
Okay. And you remember doing that perfectly clear, correct?
Oh, for sure.
All right. Because it hurt and because you knew you had been injured, right?
Because I knew I'd been assaulted.
You had a bump on your head, correct? A contusion.
Correct.
You had a laceration and you were bleeding, right?
It's a very slight laceration, yes.
I didn't ask you the size of it. You had a laceration enough that you were bleeding, right? That you had to apply
Yes.
medication to it.
Yes.
You turned down their offer for medical treatment, didn't you?
Just the ice.
You turned down their offer for medical treatment, didn't you?
I don't recall if they asked me if I wanted to seek medical treatment. They may have, they may not have, I don't recall.
You didn't see a doctor.
No.
You didn't go to an emergency room.
No.
You didn't go to the hospital.
No.
You treated it with Neosporin and ice, correct?
There were 2 welts with a slight cut.
Okay. And there's no doubt whatsoever in your mind that you pointed those injuries out to these officers, correct?
No doubt whatsoever.
Just as positive you are as to everything that you testified here in court today, correct?
The objection is overruled. That's an appropriate question.
May I rephrase?
I overruled the
No,
objection.
I know, but I don't know if she heard.
I didn't hear the question.
Are you as certain about the testimony concerning your wounds as you are about the rest of your testimony?
I am absolutely certain.
All right.
I want to talk to you for a moment about the point in time when you get in your vehicle and you drive down to the gate area, okay? You with me?
Yes.
Now, as I
You with
understand
me?
it, the gate was
Yeah,
not
you just
open,
started,
correct?
dude.
Correct.
You therefore could not drive your car into the public domain without crashing through the gate. Is that a fair statement?
That is.
And while you're stopped at the gate, and I assume you're trying to figure out how to get out, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. You hear footsteps, and you hear what you believe to be the pumping of a shotgun, correct?
Yes.
And you look in your rearview mirror and you see Mr. Spector coming down the driveway, is that right?
Yes.
Now, as I understand it, he gets over to you near the car and he says to you, "I thought I told you to get the F out of here." Is that correct?
Yes.
And you turn to him and you say, "I can't get the F out of here. Look at the gate. It's shut." Correct?
Well, I was screaming, the gate is closed, the gate is closed.
And Mr. Spector looks and sees the gate is closed, correct?
Yes.
And what does he say?
He said, the gate is closed. Want me to go open it and then you get the F out of here.
And you've described that conduct previously. You've described that as him going into fill mode, correct?
Yeah.
Why don't you tell the jury what you meant when you said fill mode?
Phil is a very brilliant and charming man, and you really enjoy him when he's in his charming mode. And then all of a sudden, I've never seen this with him when he wasn't drinking. I only saw it with him when he was drinking. He snaps, and he turns on a dime, and he becomes a lunatic. And then in the middle of his lunacy, all of a sudden, he'll have a moment of, huh? And then he goes back to what he was.
So when you said he went into Phil mode, he was, oh, the gate wasn't open, I'll go open it for you, right?
No, Phil mode was really when he was screaming.
Okay, so
Yeah.
when he said he would go
He went
and
into charming. And
All
into,
right. Says, I'll go open the gate, and what happens? The gate opens, and what do? You
I
leave.
raced out, yes.
You leave, right?
Yes.
I think you indicated everything was in your purse, correct?
When I left,
Yes,
everything except the lipstick,
correct. Otherwise, everything was in there, including the money, right?
including the money.
Okay. And as I understand it, he never grabbed you or held you down physically during this, did he?
No.
And this was the only time this had ever happened between you and him, correct?
He's a very tiny man.
The physical violence?
The incident that occurred, that you described. The first and only time that happened, correct? What you just told us about, with the pointing the gun at the green Mercedes and leaving.
Yes, that's the only time that happened.
Okay. Now, as I understand it, you said something about at the back door you started screaming back and forth at each other. What the F are you doing? Get the F back in the house, things to that effect, correct?
So
Oh yeah, Donna, get the hell in here.
The screaming went back and forth, I think you indicated at least 3 or 4 times between the two of you, right?
It seemed like it, yes.
And I think you described what you did is you stood your ground, correct?
I did?
So if I understand it correctly, you were standing there and he was standing there, feet apart, correct?
Yes.
You're looking at one another, right?
Yes.
He's screaming at you, you're screaming at him, correct?
Yes.
He's got a gun in his hand, right?
Yes.
And you told the jury he's pointing the gun at you, correct?
Yes.
No doubt about it, right?
Oh, no doubt.
And in the face of that, and as you said, you never experienced anything like that with him before, you stood feet away from him, looked him in the eye, and screamed at him 3 or 4 times before you went back in the house, correct?
Are you referring, Mr. Rosen, to the fact that he had a gun in his hand?
I'm referring to the fact that when the two of you were having this screaming match with one another, he had a gun, according to your testimony, in his hand pointed at you, and you're standing there and you're screaming at him, and you testified on direct examination, I stood my ground. Those were the words that you used. Is that not correct?
That's correct.
And when you went back in the house, you were able to do that because the door was open, correct?
Yes.
And you went in first, correct?
Yes.
And then it was a matter of moments before Mr. Spector came in. He was out there for a short while, right?
No, he came right in.
You didn't slam the door in his face when you got across the threshold of the front door, did you?
He was right at
I
my
didn't
elbow.
He was on
Did you slam the door in his face?
No.
Did you push him down?
No.
You said there came a time where he asked you to take your clothes off, correct?
Yes.
And he made that request of you or demand on you several times, right?
Yes.
And you were talking with him at that time, correct?
Well, I was sobbing. He was yelling.
And you were talking to him also. I think you testified to that. You said, Phil, why are you doing this?
Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this?
Right. Well,
Yes.
that's talking to him, isn't it?
Well, it's not exactly conversational.
I didn't ask you about a conversation.
We were having an interchange.
Okay. Miss Melvin, you took your jacket off, correct?
I did.
You threw it across to the stairs where he was seated, right?
He told me to.
You threw it across the stairs to where he was seated, correct?
Yes.
How many feet apart were the two of you? What was the distance between you and Philip?
Maybe 2 feet. 2, 3 feet.
You never took off any other garment,
No,
only your jacket, correct?
correct,
You didn't take off any undergarments, correct?
correct.
What's the point of that?
Now, as I understand it, this incident occurred on the July 4th weekend of the year 1993, is that correct?
Yes,
And I think you told Mr. Dixon that thereafter, you saw Mr. Spector from time to time in public places with other people, correct?
yes.
And I think you estimated, if I'm wrong, correct me, it was 2 to 4 times, something like that?
No more than that, I don't think.
A
As a
gnat in
matter
here.
of fact, you stayed
Saying
in
it's
touch
warming
with
up.
him continually after that event by use of email, isn't that true?
As a matter of fact, he stayed in touch with me continually after that effect by fax, phone, and email. And also mail.
You sent him an email. Let me ask you this. Is your email address DTM, and I'll spell it. If I spell it wrong, help me.
We've got the first part.
I'd rather not have her email. If you want to come up or write it out and show it to her so
All
that
right.
you're in agreement.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, this is a huge trial in
On
2007.
agreement, yes, you may.
Just not give the lady's email out here.
That's correct.
He wanted to punch her. You can see it. He wants to fight her.
Miss Melvin, you in fact sent him an email as late as January 22nd, 2003, where you sent him 2 jokes. Isn't that true?
Could be. It's not unusual.
Who's Nicole? It's his daughter, isn't
His
it?
daughter, yes.
You maintained a relationship with her subsequent to the July 4th weekend of '03, isn't that correct?
Yes, no. Of 93. You said 03. I'm sorry, you
Sorry,
threw me.
pardon me, I
You threw me.
misspoke.
Okay.
After '93, my...
Yes, she came to New York. I took her to dinner.
Okay. And is it your testimony, you said a moment that Mr. Spector sent you emails, but now that I've refreshed your memory that as recently as January of '03, you sent him a couple of jokes via email,
No,
that
I'm sorry.
that you in fact maintained contact with him through email, in addition to seeing him in public places, correct?
We maintain contact with each other.
Did you send him emails? That's all after July 4th weekend of '93. Did you or did you not send him emails? You did, didn't you?
Yes,
And he sent you emails, correct?
he did.
Okay, let's take a look at a couple of those right now.
Here we go. Email time.
Can we mark this?
Yes.
It's
I know you're editing it,
It's
so
not her email address.
we don't want anyone's email address
Right.
posted publicly.
So
I
we're just going
understand
to
that.
black it out.
That's
before we
fine.
put it on the album.
Could be interesting.
Oh, sure. Thank you.
You want to mark, how many exhibits are you going to mark?
We're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, I wonder too, Jen.
7.
And are they each an email?
2 emails, and the rest are not, as I recall.
The first 2.
Just 2.
Defendants A and B would be emails.
Okay. Can you get that a little larger, please, Jim? Is that possible? Well, first, before we take, let's take it, bring it back. Please. Ms. Melvin, take a look at the top of this. What does it say up there? Phil Spector International, correct? Mm-hmm. And what's the address
There's that,
there?
yes, thank you.
What's the address there? Can you see it?
I can't see that one.
Okay, it looks like 686 South Arroyo Parkway, Penthouse,
fuck did you
Pasadena,
read that?
California.
Jesus.
Correct?
Yes,
It's fun.
What's the date on this email?
I can't see it.
Take a look about,
Oh, wait, January
lines down.
26, 2002.
who's the email to?
Dorothy and Toto.
Dorothy and Toto. Philip used to tease you about Dorothy and Toto from Kansas, didn't he?
He did.
Okay. And who's it from?
It's from Philip.
Take a moment and read that to yourself and see if that refreshes your memory. It's 2 pages, so I'm going to just show you the first page and then the second page.
Your Honor, I can't see that.
Why don't you approach her with the actual exhibit so she can read it?
I can
Yes.
see the Prince of Darkness. Sure.
just sure, I'll walk right over there, sure.
She's got an exhibit, I can't.
Well, just
The
take
hell
it off
over
the
there,
screen
dude.
and allow the witness to.
Pissing me the hell off with your bullshit.
May I examine for a moment?
Why don't you let her read it and familiarize
That's all I was
yourself
gonna
with
say.
it?
Okay, this is where I live, and this article...
No, just read it to yourself.
Oh, I thought you wanted me to read it out loud.
Just read it to yourself for a moment.
Used to hate each other.
That's correct.
And that's an email that you received from Philip on January 26th of the year 2002, correct?
Did I recall it?
About 9 years after the incident, right?
Correct.
And how does he sign the email at the bottom?
Member, welcome in here.
He signs it, "Love and come have lunch with me someday." Philip, a.k.a. the Prince of Darkness, correct?
Yes.
Defendants B, Your Honor, please.
This is another email.
Did I hear the
This is
Prince
the
of
second one.
All
Darkness?
right, this will be defendants B.
Okay. May I approach you?
You may.
Would you just take a look at that? Just read it to yourself and see if it familiarizes yourself with it.
That's true.
Have you completed reading?
Yes, I did.
Well, then you wouldn't be holding if she
That
didn't.
refreshes your memory that you received another email from Philip on January 25th, 2002, correct?
Correct.
Can we have that up there for me? Sure, of course.
Hello, sweetie. It's your Prince of Darkness here. Thought I would check in on you.
Hold up! Hold up! Hold up!
Right? I'm not crazy. I heard Prince of Darkness.
It's a relevancy with the body of the email.
We have no objection with the fact of her receiving emails back and forth.
Okay,
It's the
let's see
content.
what the questions are, and we'll go from there.
Before it's published to the jurors, we have an objection about the
You don't
content.
want to
Dude,
put
I'm
up on the
waiting on
screen.
that
All right,
so
approach the
bad,
bench.
Kelly. I'm not sure what's happening.
An email that Philip... Miss Melvin, we're going to save a little time here. I've shown this to
Gail,
you.
get in here.
This was an email
Chris
that
Stewart
Philip
got
sent you,
numbered.
correct?
Ah, thank you, Gail.
It appears to be yes.
I'm gonna
And
call
he
all
signed
this
it,
out at
Love
the end,
Philip,
guys.
right?
Thank y'all so much tonight
Yes,
for the
he did.
support. That's amazing.
Now, he also sent you some postcards, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
And he sent you postcards after the July 4th weekend incident of 1993, correct?
Yes, he did.
Okay. Let's take a look at some of those. Your Honor, I have, it's on 2 pages. I have the front of the postcard and the back of the postcard.
Right.
Government's provided me these.
Okay,
So
get another
what I'd like to do is
guys.
mark it as defendants 3A and 3B, if I may.
No, it'll be defendants C, A, and B.
I'm sorry.
C1 and 2.
Right
pardon me,
back.
got it.
what
C1,
I'm missing.
C2.
C1, C2, okay.
Okay.
Let's see Alan Jackson get up there tonight. He's right behind me. He's right behind me. Oh, shit. He was right behind me. I'll be right back. She looks like she's seen some shit, though. You know what I mean? She's seen some shit. Yo, City Kitty. Be right back.
Sorry.
All right, you may approach it.
Objection is to relevancy with respect to.
Why don't you approach it? It's going to be the same as the previous exhibit.
A little different twist on it.
Come on up.
Okay, we're showing, I think, of course, indicated C2. Is that
Well, if it's, the front would be C1, the back would be C2, or that would, so I would mark that as C1.
This is C1.
Yes.
Do you see that, Ms. Melvin?
I do.
And it says, what, hi, Dorothy, love Philip, correct?
Correct.
All right, let's take a look at the front of that card.
Oh, we're discussing front and back differently. Front to me is the address part.
Okay, let's talk about the picture, the pretty picture side.
All right.
Okay, you see up there where it says missing you?
I do.
Remember getting this postcard?
I do.
Okay, and that was after the incident on the 4th of July weekend, correct?
It was.
Okay, let's take a look at another one, and this would be D1, Defense 1. And that's addressed to you, correct?
It is.
And let's take a look at that. It's addressed, it states, Dorothy, oops, someone forgot to tell the postcard makers the Queen Mother is dead, love Philip, right?
Correct.
Now, to have meaning of that, we got to look at the front of the postcard, right?
That would help.
And who do we have?
I'm so sorry, I didn't bring my distance glasses.
Okay, well,
It must be the Queen.
It's the Queen Mother, yes.
Yeah.
And you're right, okay.
Those will be marked D1 and D2.
We have E1 coming up next, Your Honor, with the
So
first
marked.
provision.
Yes.
I'm going to show you another postcard here in a moment. And let's take a look at that. That's addressed to you, correct, in Beverly Hills, California?
Okay, I can't, I'm so sorry, I just don't see that.
Maybe I should loan you my glasses, but then I couldn't see. Okay. And it says, greetings from London, where Halloween is coming, the season when horrible apparitions rise from the primordial slime and stalk the land, hunting their innocent victims. That's right, it's election time. Love Philip. Correct?
It's a very funny man.
Okay. He's got quite a sense of humor, doesn't he?
He does.
Along
Really
with his
does.
brilliance, correct?
No question.
And his talent.
No question.
And can we see the front of that, please? And lo and behold, Big Ben, the River Thames, in London, correct?
If you say so.
These last 2 postcards, again, you received both of those after the July 1993 incident, correct?
I did.
Okay. And I think we have one more, 2 more. And
Do you
again,
want these marked as F1 and F2?
F1, please, yes. And F2. And again, this is addressed to you in Beverly Hills, California, correct?
Yes.
And it says, from Phil Spector in the Savoy, my dear Dorothy, greetings from London, from where I'm sorry I haven't lately, but then again, neither is Shakespeare. Love Philip, right?
Again, funny.
Okay.
It's very clever.
And lo and behold, there's the, what I call the front of the card, the judge calls it the face of the card.
The Savoy Hotel.
The Savoy Hotel in London, correct. And finally, we had one more, Your Honor, which is G. Are we on?
We'd be on G for the next
G?
one.
Yeah, block that out, please, if you would, thank you. And can we shrink that, please? Okay, a little more, please. Okay, pull it down a little bit so we can start with the top. Pull it down further. Good. Okay. And we have here, it says Dorothy. That's you, correct?
Correct.
And it says from the desk of Phil Spector, I miss hanging out. And it shows two, what look like baby raccoons, correct?
Correct.
And
Oh, how
it's,
cute. No, he's innocent. My bad.
He sent you a lot of cards and emails with Love Philip, didn't he?
He did.
I just have one other area of questioning that I want to ask you about. Ms. Melvin, I assume that you did not know Lana Clarkson in life, correct?
I did not.
You never met her and never spoke with her?
Never.
Knew nothing about her?
No.
Yo, Sarah, what's up?
I assume
Pouring a
further
brewski. Oh,
that-
shit. I haven't even got my camera
It
on.
may sound like a silly question, but
I'm back.
am compelled to ask it.
I'm back.
In the morning hours, the early morning hours of February 3rd of the year 2003, you were not at Phil Spector's residence, were you?
I was not.
Anything that you have learned about this case that is being presented by the government in this courtroom, you either read, heard,
Checks and relevancy.
There appears to be no relevancy to this. Sustained.
you've never spoken with me before you testified, correct?
No.
You've never spoken with anybody from the defense team before your testimony, correct? It's been many years since you've seen Phil Spector, isn't that right?
It has been.
By the way,
Thank
in
God.
2002, Mr. Spector invited you to his personal party after the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction ceremonies at the Waldorf. Isn't that true?
In 2002,
Yes.
I had moved back to California. I was no longer there.
Okay. He did, in fact, extend a personal invitation to you to come to his personal party after the induction ceremonies, correct?
Mr. Rosen, he invited me every year, so that's not unusual.
And the only way you could have gone to that party, because it was his own private party, it wasn't a public party, was through his invitation, correct?
I don't know. I didn't pay attention to how at the parties he had, it seemed like anybody that showed up got in.
Okay, but you went to these parties. You've been to them.
I'd been to them in the past, yes, when I lived in New York.
Okay. You never brought a civil suit against Mr. Spector for anything that occurred on July 3rd, July 4th weekend of 1993, correct?
I'm not litigious. I did not.
And you didn't file a criminal complaint against him, did you?
No.
And you didn't seek any sort of compensation from him for that, did you?
None whatsoever.
You indicated that in this incident, there were two weapons involved, right? One was a handgun and one was a shotgun.
Correct.
Mr. Spector never fired either weapon that morning, did he?
No, he did not.
He never had you touch the handgun, did he?
No.
He never had you touch the shotgun, did he?
No.
He never had you hold the handgun, did he?
No.
And he never had you hold the shotgun, correct?
No.
He never put the gun in your hand and asked you to point it at yourself or put it in any orifice in your body, isn't that correct?
That's correct.
Both with the shotgun and the handgun, right?
Correct.
He never put the gun in your mouth, did he?
No.
And he never asked you to put the gun in your mouth, did he?
No.
The truth of it is, you can't sit there today and tell us if you even know if either of those weapons were loaded that day, correct?
Okay.
He didn't show up.
So I bring out a gun and I'm being a dickhead and I'm saying this, that, or literally anything. And then someone says, you don't know if it's actually loaded, do you? Bro. Slow
You
your
didn't
roll.
look, right?
Fuck out of here.
You didn't look. You didn't examine the weapons.
Me? I just fixed it. Hold on. That could be the court. The court's audio is trash.
I wasn't given the weapons to examine. He
So the
was
answer-
aware that it was a shooter. He's aware of my.
Well, it's not trash. It just randomly goes in and out. Like when it's working, it's fine.
And so he would not have handed me a gun to look at that was loaded.
Melvin, I'm asking you one question. You can't sit on that witness stand and look at this jury and tell them that you knew that that shotgun and/or that handgun was loaded that morning. Isn't that true?
I didn't know if it was loaded or not loaded.
You can't tell them it was loaded. You didn't know.
I cannot tell them if it was loaded or not loaded.
Thank you, ma'am.
Before we go to redirect, and
Dude, I know.
about how long would it be? I'd like to accommodate the witnesses.
Time
and
is
come back next
insane.
week.
Anything, honest to God, anything from this time period, even from like 07, from the 2000s period, this exact period looks like the 90s to me now. It's freaking crazy. This might as well be Dahmer in 92.
But I've got to figure out how much time we need.
I mean,
My initial questions will just be a few moments, and then I'm happy to excuse the witness for today.
I'm old. I feel old. It's crazy.
The jury for a legal ruling, and that would be
Jersey Gin and the
Why don't we go
house.
ahead and excuse you for the day now?
Oh yeah,
because-
thank you
well,
so
go ahead
much.
and ask if you have
I
a
actually
couple
just
questions.
went to Mexican. I didn't get Taco Tuesday. I got some fajitas, of course, because I like getting fajitas. I've said it 1,000 times now. I like getting fucking fajitas because I can make that last multiple meals. That'll be about probably 2 more lunches after tonight. So thank you so much, Jersey Gin. And again, everybody comes through. I'll pause it right now because I'm feeling in the mood and I feel like fucking pausing it. But at the end of these shows, when you guys show love like that, whether it's memberships or donations, I'm going to start showing love at the end of the show like that. Thank you so much, Jersey Gin. Thank you all so much for hanging out tonight. I appreciate it. Random Tuesday night murder show.
Go ahead.
And then that
I do a little
ruling
singing, too.
would be dependent on whether she'd come back.
Okay.
You could communicate that to her.
Go ahead. You may proceed.
Just following up on a couple questions that Mr. Rosen just asked you. I think in one answer you said you're a markswoman, correct?
Yes.
So did you assume that that gun, the handgun and the shotgun that the defendant pointed at you in July 1993 was loaded or unloaded?
When you deal with guns, you always assume a gun is loaded.
And that's how you dealt with yourself that day, is that correct?
That's how I deal with every weapon.
Now, Mr. Rosen also asked you whether or not you filed any lawsuits against him. Recall that just a moment ago?
Yes, I do.
You did.
Of course not.
Did Phil Spector ever threaten you with lawsuits, legal action, or anything like that as a result of the July 93 incident?
Well, excuse me, I think that's getting into another area.
No, I think it's part and parcel. If the objection is,
Well,
whatever, what might it be? Tell me so I can rule on it.
it has to do with what we're going to take a look at over the evening hour.
I don't know. I think that question is an appropriate question in any event. He may ask that.
Okay?
Did he ever threaten to sue you
Many times.
over the July 93 incident?
Yes.
And lastly, at least for this evening, Mr. Rosen showed you all these, for want of a better term, cute postcards with raccoons and Big Ben and that sort of thing, right?
Correct.
The defendant sent those to you.
He
right?
did.
Did you specifically respond to any of those postcards?
No. They didn't require responses.
And notwithstanding all the cute postcards, did you, after July 93, the incident that we talked about, ever allow yourself to be alone with the defendant?
Never.
Thank you. Nothing further at this time.
Thank you. Recross?
Yes, I do. Couple things. He never sued you, did he?
No.
Okay.
Dude, Jay, if you haven't seen this guy, anybody just coming in, if you haven't seen this guy, rewatch this cross anyways, but this guy's a prick. He's a douchebag, absolute dickhead.
Miss Melvin,
Got his laptop.
I want to turn your attention to Wednesday, January 22nd,
Crime
2003,
Spaz.
in the afternoon hours, okay?
Yes.
Do you recall sending an email to Phil Spector as follows? And I'm quoting, this is from you to him. Your mail to me is still being routed through AOL, and that account won't exist after January 31st. Please put this in your address book, referring, and I don't want to say it in open court, to your new email address. You remember sending him that?
Not him in particular. It was done through Plaxo, which sends out to the entire address book in your computer.
I see. So his address was still in the computer. correct? And that's why it got sent to him from you.
I've had his address for many years, yes.
Well, you didn't delete it because he got this from you on January 22nd, 2003, approximately 11 years after, or 10 years after the
Sarah,
incident,
thank you so
correct?
much.
If you want, I can bring it up and show it to you.
No, that's fine, Mr. Rosen. I have people that are dead that are still on my express book.
Stop. Jury's admonished, disregard that. Just let me ask a question. Did you still have his email address in your computer?
Apparently so.
All right, thank you. You may proceed.
Thank you.
Any-
Yes, actually, there is further. Ms. Kenny Biden just pointed this out to me. The rest of your email states as follows. Joke was funny. Here's another. A cardiologist died and was given an elaborate funeral. A huge heart covered in flowers stood behind the casket during the service. And following the eulogy, the heart...
Question here, Jim?
Well,
Yes, there will be.
Just hold on a second. Do you recognize that joke?
So far, no.
All right, continue.
Okay. And following the eulogy, the heart opened and the casket rolled inside. The heart then closed, sealing the doctor in the beautiful heart forever. At that point, one of the mourners burst into laughter. When confronted later, he said, "I'm sorry, I was just thinking of my own funeral. I'm a gynecologist." At that point, the proctologist fainted. You remember sending that?
You know, with all due respect, maybe we should have done that, let the witness read it.
You told me to go and read it.
Well, you could have given me a warning. All right.
You know what? I could have given you, Miss Bannon just showed it to me, and I thought, maybe the jurors would enjoy it.
All right.
May I ask a question?
I'm sorry,
No,
I
there's
don't
no
know the
question
judge.
pending, ma'am. Excuse me.
Oh, I thought you asked me if I knew it.
Let me ask you a question.
Your Honor, if I may propose,
Dude.
there is a question pending. Mr. Rosen
Fuck this
asked
guy.
if you recognize the joke. She needs to be able to answer that, I believe.
I agree. Do you recognize?
This guy, dude. Y'all have to go back and watch there's a few contentious moments between her and this fucking defense attorney, and he's quite the cock smoker.
I don't get it either.
Sorry you asked that.
I'm not going to admit or deny whether I get it or not, and I'm not going to deliver the punchline, but in any event, do you recall sending that to Mr. Spector?
I don't know. I don't think so.
All right, you may proceed.
Well, would you like to see the email here on the computer and you can refresh your memory?
Possibly. It just doesn't sound familiar to me. I'm happy to see it.
I'm sorry, I'm going to have just a moment.
Yes.
Mr. Jackson and Mr. Dixon would like to see it first. All right, I'm going to bring it up to you.
Yeah, that's how normal people scratch their nose.
Hand it to you. You
Fuck
can read
that
it. And
Can you get closer?
sure. Here, would you like my glasses? They're blending.
All right, this fucking guy, dude, is a prick. Good lord.
Okay, so it's
What
for
is
me, yes.
happening? Would you like my
I'm
glasses?
sorry, Your Honor, I didn't hear you.
She said
It's for me. It says it's for me, yes.
from you to Phil, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And the date, once again, is January 22nd, 2003.
Correct.
Your Honor, I need one moment with Mr. Spector, please. Your
All
Honor.
right.
If we all had all of our inappropriate emails ever shown to the world, as Jay would say, excuse me, while I drive into the ocean.
Area. The postcards and the emails that we showed you here on the Elmo, were those in your possession at some time and turned over by you to the prosecution?
Correct.
So you kept those all these years, correct?
It wasn't all those years at that point. It was only a year or two. They went into a box with other postcards and things from other friends.
But you kept it, and when the prosecution asked you to give them to them, you did.
I did.
How many total did you give them? Did we see the universe of all the postcards and emails from Philip that you gave to the prosecution?
I don't remember.
But the ones we showed here in court came from you, from your possession, transferred by you to them.
Correct.
When did you give those to them?
I gave them to Mr. Sortino.
Sortino's right.
Sortino. When he came to my home to interview me.
Last year? 2006?
Been a couple of years.
2005?
I couldn't tell you the exact date.
Just help me here. The 2 emails that we looked at, those were dated 2002, weren't they?
I'd been in contact with Phil. We never were out of
Come in here,
contact
T-Bone.
until I stopped when I was subpoenaed to the grand jury.
Suzanne, what's up?
From the time you were
Welcome in, welcome in.
Looking back to the July 4th week of 1993, as you just said, I've been in...
I'm sorry, no, I just want to amend it when you give me a moment.
Go ahead and amend it now.
I was in contact with him until the knock came at the door and the 2 homicide detectives were at my door. At that point, I did not respond to any of his emails, although he continued to email me.
And that's because they told you it would be better if you didn't have any contact with them, correct?
No, I chose that on my own. They didn't tell me what to do or what not to do.
So these 2 investigators who were the lead investigators in this investigation knock at your door, show up.
To that extent, the objection is sustained because I don't know who the lead investigators
Okay.
are.
The 2 investigators who showed up were Fournier and Tomlin, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and they showed up last year, or no, they showed up in... March 18th of 03, correct?
If that's what you have, that's when it was.
That's what I have here. And, actually, excuse me, February 19th of 03, correct?
Whatever date they have, I didn't calendar it or put it in a diary. I don't do that.
So up until these 2 investigating officers, who were the 2 lead investigators in this case, showed up, you were in contact with Mr. Spector, and then on your own after that, without any instruction from them, even though they alerted you, maybe a witness in this case, you decided to cease contact with Phil. But up till then, you did speak with him, correct?
I hadn't spoken with him in some time.
When I say speak, I mean either verbally or...
There hadn't really been very much in some time.
Okay, yeah. I just want to take a minute. Everyone was asking out of different questions that was basically saying, who's doing this guy's hair in jail with the wigs? But yeah, he was Spector was arrested and then freed on $1 million bail in September of 2004. So, and this trial is from 2007. So he was out for years leading up to this. And I can't wait to get into the movie and even more details about the time frame between, because apparently the media was, and I don't remember this trial in real time, but apparently the media was basically, spinning the how they will, even if he is guilty, they're going to jump all over this and be, so he took it upon himself to put out these videos, I guess, with his defense attorneys, which are strange and odd. I need to find them as well so we can watch them, but him sitting in a chair, like, kind of telling you why he is innocent or declaring, it seems strange.
Do you wish me to continue?
If you've answered the question, then you've answered the question.
Because there was contact.
What the fuck? If you've answered the question, then what the fuck dude, this guy, I can't, bro.
Okay.
I would be in prison.
He was sending me clippings about the murder.
I would have to leave the room.
Murder.
Okay. And let me ask you this. Between the incident in 1993 and the time when you were contacted by Mr. Fournier and Mr. Tomlin, is there any way you can estimate how many times you emailed each other back and forth?
Oh, no. There's no way. When Phil emails, he in faxes, it's 2 lists. It's we all get the same thing.
So you can't put a number on how many went back and forth? Okay. More than one, correct?
For sure.
Okay, thank you. Nothing further.
Thank you. Redirect.
Nothing on that, just pending
All
our
right.
conversation.
I'm going to excuse you at this time, subject to recall. The district attorney will contact you if we need you back either on Monday or at some other time. So you're excused at this time. Ladies and gentlemen, keep in mind the admonition will be in recess until Monday at 9:30. Thank you.
God, are we going to come back Monday with a new wig? I fucking hope so. We still
You
have
wanted me to be aware of something?
8 minutes here, so
Is there something you want to raise in front of me?
I want to see how long the next video
I
is.
believe the defense has opened the door to a prior incident or maybe incidents. We have not explored this at length with the witness, Ms. Melvin, but I am aware, at least tangentially, that she is aware of prior conduct with the defendant involving guns. The defense made kind of a point of suggesting to the jurors through cross-examination that either she was mistaken
Alan
or
Jackson, folks.
something to that effect with regard to him holding her at gunpoint, suggesting, for instance, while he's standing there holding a gun in your face, you're screaming at him. While he's standing there holding a gun in your face, you're standing your ground. You weren't doing anything. You weren't complying. You were basically confronting him, although he was loaded. He was standing there with possibly a loaded firearm, etc. If allowed, and the reason we brought this up outside the presence of the jury, in an abundance of caution, because this is a prior bad act, if allowed to testify to the reasons that she stood her ground, to the reasons that she yelled at him, to the reasons that she walked out and said, "What the F are you doing?" initially when she saw him with the gun, is because she had seen him with weapons previously. She had seen him pull a gun on one or more patrons at a Christmas party at Joan Rivers' place in New York. He had to be escorted from the building, and this is concomitant with the Tenazzo testimony we've already litigated at length. As a matter of fact, Vince Tenazzo, according to her recollection, was the party who escorted Phil Spector out of the Christmas party. Now, she doesn't remember the exact dates of which Christmas party it was, but when two and two are put together, Vince Tenazzo's testimony along with her testimony corroborates one another, and they're self-corroborating, or I should say cross-corroborating. She, in fact, knew that he had a history with weapons. She didn't think that he would take it to that next step of either hitting her with the gun or seriously assaulting her with the gun, which he, in fact, did do. I think to leave the jurors with this impression that they're kind of left with at this point in a vacuum without knowing what the defendant's history with guns was and what her knowledge of that history was, leaves them with a misimpression. Well, either, Miss Melvin, you're a liar, he really didn't assault you with a weapon, or you're mistaken, he wasn't pointing the weapon at you, he was pointing the weapon at something else, or that you knew the weapon was unloaded, which was another point of cross-examination. I think it misguides the jury into believing that she wasn't really in fear. And subsequently, that Lana Clarkson may not have been in fear, or shouldn't have been in fear, notwithstanding the disparity between the two incidents. So I think that for the jurors to get a full, for the full complexion of the testimony to make sense, they need to be told, hey, she's got a history with Philip Spector, and that history includes the use of weapons at parties, pulling them on other people.
Have you ever asked her whether that was in her mind?
Yes.
And?
Yes.
Is that a statement that the defense has?
Yes.
I'm sorry?
I asked if it was a statement the defense had, which of course you should.
Yes, I believe it is.
Maybe, could I be pointed to where that statement is? I don't have anything about that. I have the grand jury minutes. I have the transcript of the voicemails that are left. I have Mr. Forney and Tomlin's report, Mr. Bennett's report, and the original Pasadena police report from Officer Russ. That's it. And there's nothing in there to that effect.
I'll tell you what, I'm sitting here looking at this thinking, it's in the Tenazzo statement. Tenazzo, I'm sorry, I was looking at Dorothy Melvin's statement thinking, where did I put that?
Vince is saying they didn't get
aware
this.
of this incident because Vince Tenazzo says Dorothy Melvin was there. When I took him, Spector, out of the elevator and escorted him out, it was with Dorothy Melvin.
Well, that's fine, that shows her presence, but I'm asking, did you ask Dorothy Melvin whether any of her actions were based on her prior observations of Mr. Spector
I don't
with the
think
gun?
I've ever posed that particular question to her.
So you don't even know what the answer is
I
going to
don't,
be.
but if I asked her right now,
Well,
I mean, we could find out.
Just a second, because I have to be honest with you, that's not what I thought the defense was trying to establish with the questions. What they were trying to show is when faced with an angry woman or whatever, with having a gun pointed at him, that he did not react by shooting her. And I believe that's what they were trying to show. I think that, to me, I picked it up at least, and I hear Mr. Rosen saying
Your
that's
Honor,
right.
I don't mean to be flip.
Don't be.
But
Okay.
okay, so I won't.
Okay.
The fact that
That's
Dorothy
easy.
Melvin, the fact that Dorothy Melvin walked into this courtroom and sat right there and wasn't suffering from a gunshot wound previously, pretty much answers the question that she wasn't shot. I think that the defense, well, let me put it this way. I don't know what they were intending to do, but I can tell you what my impression is of what the jurors gathered from that. That she was being somehow less than honest or less than credible or is somehow less than credible. And I can guarantee Mr. Rosen, in closing argument, will bring up her credibility given the fact that she said, hey, look, he was standing out there with a pistol that could have been loaded, and I took him on, if you will.
Well, what I suggest, just before, I'll give you a chance, Mr. Dixon.
Okay,
Is I don't know if the witness left with her counsel. I don't know if she's left the building. Is both sides should interview her and ask her whether or not at the time that the incident with her took place, whether that was a concern to her or whether she had it in her mind. And then, if the answer is no, that's probably the end of it. If the answer is yes, then I have to consider whether it is admissible.
Maybe I can add to it, because Mr. Jackson was not in the room when I talked with her today. And when we got to that point in the discussion where she said, he pointed the gun at me when he's outside before he hit me, I stood my ground and I said, why? And she said, because I know from the Joan Rivers party about what happened. And I said, having in mind the court's earlier decision about Vince Tenazzo, I said, we cannot and I will not ask you about that at all, because the judge has ruled that inadmissible at this time without a further ruling from the judge and without direction from me or from the judge. So that's as far as I got into it. I didn't bring it up because I didn't think it was admissible until the cross-examination.
All right.
Well, if
Mr. Rosen.
If that were the case, I think, and this is not a criticism of Mr. Dixon in any way, but I think certainly if that were the case.
I hate this fucking guy.
Mr. Jackson's representation.
I've hated some defense attorneys since I've started doing this. About a year and a half now, I've been in actual true crime. Jesus!
Our purpose, which they weren't. The court hit the proverbial nail on the proverbial head. Then
That's the first
I
I've seen
probably
this
should have
guy.
been aware of that. The fact that I wasn't, I think, clearly ends the discussion here. The court understood exactly what we were doing with this cross-examination. It was not what Mr. Jackson is suggesting. And I don't believe anybody's going to stand here whenever we get to that at closing argument and scream and yell and spend a lot of time saying this didn't occur. So I think that ends it there.
Well, I'm going to give it some thought. If I let anything in, and I'm not suggesting that I am, not for a moment, I just want to give it some thought, it would merely be, and even though you didn't intend it, it's certainly possible that that's the way it was interpreted. And again, I have to consider it as to whether it's still too prejudicial given its possible probative value. But if I let it in, it's just basically, had you ever seen him with weapons during your relationship? End of question. Period. If I let anything in, it would go about that far, unless the defense wishes to go beyond that, and then of course they could. I'll give it some thought, but I can't tell you before Monday, so we'll consider that.
That's fine.
It's like, let me go to the house.
The two of you, Mr. Jackson,
I got movies to film.
The joke to Miss Melvin.
That's Bruce Willis.
We're in recess. We're in recess. Thank you.
Tell me. What's up, Bruce Willis?
All right.
What's the next? I just want to see what's next. So this is Monday. We got a short one here. The jury is dismissed for the day, and the prosecution discusses evidence. So, okay, we're going to watch this. We're going to go into this. Thanks, everyone, for hanging out here tonight. I really appreciate it. We're going to hang out for here just a little bit longer. I'm going to see what's after this one to see if it'll work time-wise. We'll see. I don't know. I am going to start doing more murder churches of this trial more frequently through the week. Probably on a Tuesday, because it seems to work out best. You know, I'm on here alone. You never know what I'm going to do. But keep eyes peeled for extra murder churches, because this is an extremely long trial. It's 6 months in real time. So I want to get through it a little bit faster than the 3.5 to 4 hours that we do on Sunday. I want to show a little bit of love just real quick before we keep rocking and rolling. I appreciate everybody coming through here tonight. It's been awesome. You guys are absolutely amazing. It's been, goddamn, this is crazy. Lakota, 1999, Murder Church all week. Just kidding. But this is my favorite show, period. Thank you so much. I absolutely love Lakota. She comes through here. Dude, she'll give me donations on videos in the chats and shit. Lakota, you fucking rule. Seriously, you're amazing. Donna Barkley coming through and becoming a Buzzed and Confused member. Get in here. Get the hell in here. That's what I'm talking about, baby. That's what I'm talking about. Get in here. And also, Bruce Willis wants to tell you.
Welcome to the party, pal.
Love it. And Tayo to always feel, the homie, the man, the dude out here helping out the entire true crime community. One of the best in it, quite frankly. Trying to help out the little guys and the big guys. He's awesome, man. It's something that I feel that deep within me. I always want to help out folks. Titty Flex, let's go. 8 months in this son of a bitch. Let's go. Let me give him a happy anniversary, just because that's what we do here at PubliclyBuzzed.
Happy anniversary.
And then Gail gifted out, one membership. I forget who got that one right off, but no, Chris Dewitt got that one. That was perfect. Chris Dewitt got that. Thank you so much. Gail, getting in here, baby. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Jersey Jen going to come through at the end here. $5. You can pass the plate for Taco Tuesday. I had some fajitas tonight. I was saying that in the chat. Thank you so much, Jersey Jen, coming through. Bam Coogan coming through with the $4.99. Let me on that taco train, Jersey Jen. And yeah, she jumped right on. Love it. Thank you guys so much. This rules. I'm a bad man. Then Sarah coming through with the taco party. Taco Tuesday. Let's go, baby. We're not messing around today. We're not messing around.
Hold up. Hold up. Hold up.
Thank you so much. That's absolutely amazing. It rules. Love coming through, pouring through the speakers, pouring through the chat. You guys are absolutely amazing. Let's keep rocking. Let's see what this is exactly. Again, the jury is dismissed for the day. The prosecution is discussing evidence. This is a 6-minute video. Let's see what they got. Continuing arguments from Friday.
The Honorable Larry Paul Fielder, Judge presiding.
All right, good morning. The defendant is present with his counsel, with the exception of Mr. Cutler.
With his wigs.
Just a moment.
Better be a different wig. You better be wearing a different wig, bro.
The jurors and the alternates are present.
Ladies
and gentlemen, a couple of things. First of all, and we're hoping it's very minor, but Mr. Cutler had to go to the doctor today, and after discussions with counsel, we will not be able to proceed today.
So the defense attorney Cutler, the mob boss, the defense attorney for mob boss John Gotti is out today.
These things will happen, and we hope to have a better understanding. Hopefully, since, as you know, we will not be in session tomorrow because we can't guarantee with the number of people that are going to be downtown for various marches. The judges have been asked if they have non-essential, and non-essential means non-custodial matters, in trial, not to have them in session because it's going to be so hard to move the custodies that we do have, and I can't guarantee access to the courthouse easily. They may start closing streets down before you come in. So as we told you earlier, we won't be in session tomorrow, so we're going to resume Wednesday. If there's a problem, we'll try to make arrangements if we find out anything. If it appears we can't go Wednesday, we'll try to call you ahead of time and do whatever. But other than that, we would be coming in Wednesday at our normal time at 9:30. Now, there's an additional matter before we go ahead and break for the day. What was the name of the show?
48 Hours.
48 Hours last week ran not about this trial, but it did run a show concerning another case, and one of the prosecutors featured in that case was Mr. Jackson. And we're just trying to find out if anybody happened to see that. Just right, you weren't forbidden.
Alan Jackson is a celebrity lawyer now. I mean, this was a prosecutor at the time. But
to see it. It had nothing to do with this case. Did anybody happen to see that show? Well, so much for their ratings, but sorry about that for them. However, that takes care of the problem. That's very. If for any reason. I don't know why it would come back on. If you see anything about Mr. Jackson or Mr. Dixon or any of the defense lawyers, just go ahead and ignore it if you would, okay? With that in mind, if you'll keep the court's admonition in mind, we'll see you at the present time. We're expecting to see you 9:30 on Wednesday morning. All right? We're in recess for your purposes at this time. Thank you. Well, we can go ahead and get started, and if the jurors appear, we'll just stop. It's been brought to my attention.
Why would they appear after you let them go?
At least one and possibly two defense witnesses have appeared on court TV talking about the case. That would be Dr. Wecht and Dr. Lee. The only dispute may be whether Dr. Lee spoke specifically about the case. The prosecution feels he did, the defense feels he did not, but all agree that the other witness did. I am ordering all parties to tell their witnesses not to discuss this case until the case is completed, and if my order is violated, I will take appropriate action. This case will be tried in the courtroom, not in the media, and especially not in that manner. Is there any question whatsoever? None? Okay. Take care of it.
We'll pass it.
Take care of it. Okay.
I like this
Is there
judge,
anything else
man.
that we need to do? There's a couple other things that have come up. Prosecution
Seems
filed
fair.
a motion Friday dealing with the exclusion
Seems
of
assertive.
Evidence and/or witnesses.
Appropriately.
It's premature to deal with it at this time. They're going to file some addendums under seal, which I will take a look at, and we will deal with that as appropriate. The defense previously had filed a motion for a jury view. It is my view, and I've discussed this in chambers, it's premature. We'll see how the prosecution case develops. and at the close of the prosecution case, we will see whether that would be appropriate to have a partial or full jury view, as the case may be, depending on what evidence is developed. Okay, anything else that we need to?
No, thank you.
All right, we're in recess. Yes, Mr. Fuller.
You got the copy of the motion without the exhibits. Is there a reason, I've drafted up a response, and I'm working on it. In fact, when we're dark today, I'll try to get it on file, hopefully by the end of today. Is there a reason why we can't lodge the exhibits just like regular, that they have to be filed under seal? Because we need to make...
I thought they were trying to protect your client's right to a fair trial, but I could be wrong.
No, that's correct. There are, obviously, the subject matter contained in the exhibits is going to be the subject matter of the litigation, which we believe violates discovery statutes, and ultimately where certain appropriate sanctions may be in order, including, not the least of which, would be a possible suppression of that information. If it's not filed under seal, I feel like that would be the tail wagging the dog. If it becomes public record, then we've defeated the purpose of the motion to begin with.
Well, what I will allow, and that's not ultimately the final test. I'm well aware of the public's right to access. I will allow you to file it under seal, and then the court has to make certain findings whether it's going to stay sealed, and until I see it, I can't make that determination, and I'll certainly give usually Ms. Sager is the representative, if you will, of the public or the press. I would give her a right to argue it. But so I will allow them to be filed under seal at this time, and at this time only, until I have a chance to consider them and feel whether it's appropriate and lawful.
We appreciate that, Your Honor.
Yeah, we were going to file exhibits not under seal.
Well, I'm going to tell you, quite frankly, Mr. Ford, don't do it. If it has to do with the comments of these witnesses who may not testify and who may or may not have inflammatory things that might prejudice either side's right to a fair trial, those are things that I have to consider, then weigh against my statutory obligations to public access, and there's only very limited reasons when they can remain under seal, even things that don't come into evidence, even things, confessions and other matters. That is an automatic right to seal, but I will allow you to file it under seal at this time until I have a chance to consider it. And if it has to do with statements of witnesses, the defense is ordered to do the same until I have a chance to look at it.
That's fine. I was simply wanting direction as to what to do. And
okay.
We need to make offers of proof as to what these witnesses would say. That's really what we're trying to do. So very good. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you. We are in recess till 9:30 on Wednesday. Thank you.
All right. We're going to move on. Let's see. The next one is 19 minutes. We're going to keep moving. We're going to go another 19. The judge and counsel, a potential major violation by the defense outside the presence of the jury. Again, outside the presence of the jury. Yeah, let's keep moving here.
Parties are back that were present earlier. I've had a brief in camera simply to go over what we were going to be doing this afternoon, and also talk about Mr. Cutler's expected return. In my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Brunon or any other counsel, that it is expected that Mr. Cutler will be back and the jury portion of the trial will resume on Monday. Is that correct?
That's what we anticipate, Your Honor.
Damn, a whole nother week before. So something happened with Cutler, the mob boss, John Gotti attorney. Had to go to the hospital on Monday, whatever, had to go to the doctor. He's out for a whole week. So it looks like we're going to have a whole week until we get to the actual trial really commencing with the jury. So let's continue to see what's happening.
To stay in touch.
Thanks everyone for hanging out. Appreciate it, guys.
We will keep in touch. You'll keep in touch through the district attorney's office. If necessary, we can have a conference call with all parties with me because witnesses do have to be arranged and arrangements have to be made for witnesses to be flown in and housed and things like that. And if for any reason it appears there may be a problem, then we have to deal with it, and we will at the appropriate time. Now, this afternoon, what we're going to do, and it depends upon time, is there's going to be basically two separate matters, but they're both discovery-oriented. One, and I will indicate, it has been brought to the court's attention, and we have set a hearing for this afternoon. And a lot of this is pure speculation, but the court has been notified through counsel, and counsel have been notified that there is the possibility, and it is just that, a possibility. The reason for the hearing is to determine whether or not there is any credibility to it, that at some point early on in the case, a piece of evidence that should have been turned over to the prosecution was not. We're going to determine whether or not any such evidence exists. If it does exist, what is its present status? And why, if it does exist, it wasn't turned over to the prosecution. There's lots of ifs and ands and buts, and until we have the hearing, we will not I will not be in a position to make that determination. Witnesses will be present this afternoon, and we will have that hearing in open court. And depending how long that takes, we also have the discovery motion filed by the people for sanctions for late discovery of other items that have been turned over to them. The defense has filed a response, which I have not yet had a chance to read since it was apparently filed this morning. It was given to me a short time ago.
We had to find our way to the courthouse yesterday.
I understand that. That's why we weren't in session yesterday. And although the demonstration was much smaller than was expected, I certainly did see pictures of the crowd on Broadway, and it sounds like it was a good idea that we didn't have the court session yesterday. So at 1:30 this afternoon, we will proceed on those motions and go as far as we can. I'll see you at 1:30 this afternoon. Thank you.
Still 17 minutes of this clip
All right,
left.
the record will reflect defendant is not present pursuant to his 977 waiver. The counsel are all present with the exception of Mr. Cutler. The
Like a
people
whole
are
lot
present.
of
Mr. Rosen is now present.
bullshit
Mr.
going
Burnett
on,
is at
quite
the table
frankly,
as well.
until we get back to the trial on
The
Monday.
court
We're
has
going to get
set this
through it.
hearing, and I'll give you an overview of what
Luck,
we are
guys.
going to do this afternoon.
Make sure you're following on the old X machine.
Sometime
PubliclyBuzzed.
back, probably within the last week to 10 days, my understanding is someone contacted the district attorney's office indicating they had evidence concerning this matter and wished to talk to the district attorney. However, the person identified himself as I believe, and you can correct me, Mr. Dixon or Mr. Jackson, I'm doing this from memory, that he was a former law clerk for Mr. Shapiro, Mr. Spector's former counsel, which set off alarm bells, and the prosecution very properly indicated they did not wish to talk to the individual because of the possibility that this might involve privileged communications. So they did the following two things. They, I believe, at that time, sought the outside or the intervention of an outside police agency not involved with this case, which was the Los Angeles Police Department, to interview the individual to see if there was some non-privileged material that might be discoverable, and also came to me and asked me to appoint a special master to oversee this information because of the possibility of getting into privileged material. And I appointed one of our special masters that the court uses, Professor Lori Levinson, who is a professor at Loyola Law School. She began an investigation of this matter, and initially, as she would give me oral reports, it appeared that this would definitely, whatever was there, and quite frankly, I did not want to know, but however, it would be privileged information, which the prosecution wouldn't have a right to, that I wouldn't have any interest in, and we were going to leave it there, basically write a final report and let it go at that. And then I would talk to the parties and let them know what had happened. However, in, I guess, her conversations or something alerted Professor Levinson that there might be the possibility that some of this information was not privileged. And that had to do with an allegation concerning a piece of physical evidence that this individual, as I understand it, felt had been moved and I had no idea whether it had been turned over to the prosecution. Had it been, we would have dropped the matter at that point. It wouldn't really made any difference. I brought the parties in, informally made an inquiry as to whether the prosecution had received what this individual indicated he had seen taken by someone, and they indicated they had not. And I informed the parties that we were going to have a hearing on this matter. It's going to have to be, I'm going to have to basically, to use an expression, ride herd on it, because we're not going to get anywhere near any privileged communications. However, if, and this is just a hypothetical, any defense attorney and or his or her agents uncover a piece of physical evidence, once they move it in any manner, they have an absolute obligation to turn it over to the prosecution. It cannot be manipulated, tampered with, concealed, or anything else. And that's what we're here to find out, if any such thing exists. If it doesn't, we move on. If it does, we see where it goes. And that's what we're here. When I met with the parties, the district attorney, we had to have, none of us want to deal with this directly until this hearing. So I believe the Los Angeles Police Department took care of issuing the subpoenas. I can't remember. Was
Actually, what happened, Your Honor, is that I think the court gave us the name of this individual's attorney. We contacted him, accepted service.
Okay, accept the service. And the other individuals, I guess, are here voluntarily.
That's I just seen that yesterday, and I guess that was being shared, Brooklyn. Brooklyn is sharing in the chat here about this doctor. I'm going to butcher his last name, and it sucks, but it's Dr. Cyril Retch. But I seen a clip of him as well talking about Kennedy just yesterday on X, on Twitter.
Would that be correct?
Some of them
R.I.P.
some are here voluntarily.
Okay, well, we can get in. I guess
I recognized his face instantly, too.
In a way, this
Even
is the
yesterday,
prosecution's attempt now, I guess, to find out if there's discoverable evidence. I don't know whether you consider it your motion. If not, we can consider it a court's motion, and I can proceed. And
Your Honor, it would be our, just for purposes of, I guess, labeling it, I think this is a proper court's motion of inquiry. However, it does seem natural that we would take the witnesses on direct examination, try to find out what we can, if anything, happened.
okay, with most of the witnesses, I'm not too concerned. I'm sure they're aware of their obligation not to reveal privileged information. However, the fact that this individual has come forward, I'm going to be very careful with them. So you proceed in any manner you want in calling the witnesses in any order that you wish, and we'll see where we go from there. Mr. Bruno.
Your Honor, we're requesting a little bit of additional guidance.
Tell me.
First of all, this appears to be the nature of an investigation of some sort as to whether or not this piece of evidence existed, whether or not it was improperly handled. And
that would be the first part, because it's part of whether the people have been deprived of appropriate discovery.
All right. That sounds to me like something that can be handled in the normal investigative process. We certainly will make witnesses as we know them available, and we don't need to have a deposition over this. Now, here's what I'm concerned about. We don't have any framework for this type of hearing. I went back and looked at Meredith after I became aware of this issue. Meredith tells us what the rule is, but it doesn't tell us how to determine what the facts are to apply the rule. And we're concerned about the fact that there have been these communications between the referee and potential witnesses that we're not privy to. Now, that's relevant for two purposes. One, to test the credibility of any potential witness, but two, to determine what information has been privileged or otherwise has been given up, so that we can deal with that as appropriate.
Well, we can bring, my understanding is Professor Levinson is out of town today, but she can certainly become a witness, and there's no reason why she can't.
Well, because we're dealing with potentially privileged information, it seems to me that
she knows certainly how not to get into privileged communications.
Well,
there's not a doubt about that.
But it's not a two-way street. Things that are available to us might not be available to the prosecution, and probably ought not to be available to the court, because you're a neutral and detached party here, and somehow or other all of these roles have gotten tumbled into some unknown process we're going through here. Here's the other issue. Now that we've identified, or the other questions, now that we've identified the issue, I guess the people have assumed the burden of proof here, or the burden of production of evidence. I don't know if there's going to be a burden of proof assigned, but we had an informal conversation this morning, and the most important issue, one of the most important, before the proceedings began this afternoon, we don't know what is at stake here. What are the consequences of whatever particular findings are going to be made? Without identifying those, we're kind of wandering around in the dark here, and the reason I'm concerned about this is that there is some potential for significant prejudice to Mr. Spector, and Mr. Spector didn't have a thing to do with any of this. He, to my knowledge, is completely unaware of any of these assertions until this gentleman came out of the woodwork, or wherever he came out of, and attempted to what appears to be engender some self-aggrandizement, some publicity, some to place himself in the middle of this process, which is almost predictable, unfortunately. But I think that we ought to determine where we're going before we start the trip, because I don't want to have a situation where something happens that significantly prejudices this proceeding, and then we have to abort the whole issue, or abort the whole thing.
I don't see it going there. It's very simple. As to what sanctions, if any, may be applicable, it depends whether or not there's been a violation of the discovery order. And certainly whether there's been a violation of any ethical obligation of anybody. We don't know that. This individual is making certain claims. First thing we have to do is find out if there's any basis for the claim, and then worry where we go from there. The first thing is to find out the facts.
I don't have any problem with finding out the facts. I do have a problem with giving a grandstand to somebody that we've not had any opportunity to discover what the nature of his allegations are, other than the broad allegations that the court has mentioned. We don't know anything about the background of this fellow. We don't know what kind of notes or anything that he's made. We don't know what kind of efforts he's made to peddle this information. These are all relevant to finding out what the truth is. And to me, this is not something that should be aired in a public forum. There is too much at stake here to have people wandering in off the street, making uninvestigated allegations, and having them publicized across the United States. I mean, there's too much at stake.
Well, there may be a lot at stake, and I agree that there is. However, all of those matters can be gone into when we find out what the facts are. And as far as continuing the matter, if necessary, for you to do further investigation, that's fine. But first, we're going to find out if there's any basis for this. We're in trial. If this is true, we'll worry. If it's not true, it's going to be a very short hearing, and that's fine.
Right. I understand that, Gary. I guess more directly I should ask, it seems to me that since we don't know what's going to come out here, that we ought not to air all of this in a public forum. Once the facts are determined, the court can make an informed decision as to whether or not any of this is potentially prejudicial to Mr. Spector's right to a fair trial, and then release that part that's appropriate. It's not as if we're asking it not to be released. We want to have it inspected first. We don't do in cameras in public, and that's basically what's happening here.
I believe this is no more than part of a discovery motion, which is part of the public forum. We will proceed. Ms. Abramson, I'm going to tell you something. We've known each other a long time. Don't shake your head. Don't sit there if you don't like my ruling. Just don't do it.
No, it's not that I don't like your ruling, Your Honor. I'm sort of here to be the voice of Christmas past. And we've been here before, and when I was on the case, and the people withdrew that same complaint and didn't allow our witness to testify, and that should have ended it. Instead, same thing all over again.
Thank you.
My concern...
Ms. Abramson, thank you for your input. Thank you. You're not a party to this as of now. If you're a witness, that's one thing. The people may proceed.
Thank you. Just two quick comments. One, I would ask the court for a witness exclusion order in this hearing, like any hearing, and I think that would include Ms. Abrams.
I don't know if
Actually, she's assisting us, Your Honor, because this issue has been litigated in part before. It was brought to the court's attention, not this court, but another judge. They were in the middle of a hearing, and then the people withdrew their motion. That was litigated by Ms. Abramson. We contacted her in the last 24 hours to try to get up to speed, doing everything we could, because we have to now challenge this allegation, and she was very helpful. She met with us last night.
If she's not a witness, then she can remain.
She's going to assist us in this case.
Fine.
Thank you.
Fine. Your Honor. Any other witnesses that are present, however, that have been brought in by either side or to remain outside the courtroom?
I'm Greg Diamond.
All right.
Judge is bold, though. I mean, he's...
Yes, Mr. Roman.
Holding his ground.
Yesterday, I had contact with Janet Levine, who is counsel for Bob Shapiro and Sarah Kaplan.
Okay.
And I've been working through her. She made a request for me last night when I spoke with her, and this morning as well as this afternoon, that if it gets to the point in this hearing, if we get there, we may not, but if we get to the point where the government seeks to call either Mr. Shapiro or Ms. Kaplan or both, Ms. Levine would like to come in to address the court first on the ground rules, because there are privilege issues.
Absolutely.
Okay.
She's
Can I just
present.
have one moment to go outside and let her know that?
No, you don't have to. She's right behind you.
And Your Honor, Mr.
Yes.
Nassiter will be representing Ms. Kaplan, who's present as well.
All right.
Mr. Shapiro and Ms. Kaplan are outside the court, but there are a number of issues we want to address with the court before testimony. And we are just into this case, and we have very little idea of what went on, except I do have knowledge of what went on in 04 and early 04 with the earlier subpoena issued to Mr. Shapiro and the withdrawal of that subpoena.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Your Honor, I'm informed that Mr. Worksman, who is Greg Diamond's
This
attorney,
is endless.
here
Fuck.
before the court. I'll let him.
Yes, sir.
Afternoon, Judge.
Good afternoon.
Judge, it was my impression that we would be having whatever hearing is necessary in chambers, and I'd like the opportunity to address the court in chambers in the presence of defense counsel and prosecution.
About what?
About the reason we're here today.
Well, you can address me here now if you
Thanks,
want.
Art
If you
Stroh.
can
Appreciate
convince
that.
me that there's some reason we should go in camera, I'm happy.
Pardon me. Judge, the nature of the hearing, the speed with which it's come on, the representations that were made to me and my client leave me in a position where I'm not in a position to advise him adequately today unless I have the opportunity to learn from the court more about what was supposed to transpire.
Fine. What's to transpire is your client contacted the authorities and indicated that he had information that he believed he wanted to pass on. Parts of it appeared instantly to those that he contacted, which I believe is the district attorney, which is why they did not wish to deal with him, to deal with privileged material, which he has no right to pass those along. But part of what the special master who I appointed gleaned from him was apparently it deals with matters that are not privileged, and that would be whether or not any evidence was concealed, manipulated, tampered with, not turned over to the prosecution that should have been. That's the issue we're attempting to find.
Judge, you're not asking me to make the determination of what's privileged and what's not. Is that correct?
That's correct.
I don't know what determination Your Honor has made, and I as a member of the court, with an obligation of the court, I want to tell you it's not that easy, and I need the opportunity to make a presentation to the court outside a viewing audience, but in the presence of the prosecutor and the defense counsel.
All right, if that's your offer of proof, we'll go back in camera.
Thank you.
Let's go back.
Excuse me, are they now showing?
Not at this point.
All right.
She's assisted you to bench.
I understand that we don't have room. You want to go in camera, that's fine. We have room for just a few attorneys. You can go out before you do anything else. You can consult with Ms. Abramson.
Can I wait in the hallway then?
No, you can wait out here. If they need to talk to you, they'll come out and talk to you.
Ms.
Yeah, this judge is
has
awesome.
given up her seat on the Titanic.
Not taking any shit. This has been a crazy session.
Well, that would be 7 lawyers. That's too many. That's too many for chambers.
So many lawyers.
Miss Abramson, I'm going to tell
Is that
you this.
another lawyer?
I'm saying fine, and I don't
Okay,
have to go.
just let's easy on the gestures. Okay.
Is that another lawyer in a wig being super flamboyant? What is happening in this?
You want me not to be Jewish now?
I'm not even going to reply.
Good.
Yeah, she. Oh my god.
Two prosecutors.
Wow, that
two
was
defense
heavy,
attorneys,
y'all.
And counsel, Mr. Worksman. That's who we have room for, plus the reporter.
Brazen? Is that the word? Holy shit. All right, the next one's an hour 7. That's where we're going to start, probably on Sunday. We got through some more here. We're into video 10. Gregory Diamond, who claims Spector's lawyers withheld evidence, takes the stand outside of the presence of the jury. So the jury's still out. Wow. Wow. Wow, man, that was spicy. That was a bit of a circus, Kelly. Holy crap. Hold on real quick. This trial's really interesting. I'm into it, okay? I'm into it. Real quick. Just want to make sure I get all the loving out here, because right at the very end, Gail came through at the end of this stream, gifted out another membership. Thank you so much, first of all. Appreciate that. Let me give you a little... Bad man, y'all. Welcome to the party, RX Girl. Welcome in here. And she also says this is her favorite channel, and I see a lot of other folks agreeing. Thank you all so much. Really appreciate that. Buzz Nation growing every single day. Thank you, guys. Yeah, we'll be back Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. I'll have my brother with me. Should have Dan with me here. We're going to be going over something. You never know here with Publicly Buzzed. So, yeah. And like I said, keep an eye, seriously, on future streams for Murder Church episodes, because this trial, take a look at this. This trial, we're on video 10. There are... drum roll please, there are 244 videos. So, yes, we're going to keep on freaking rolling. And I want to do this one, whenever I get a chance. I'm very intrigued about it. I'm interested. Gregory Diamond is next. I'm just super glad that everybody's hanging out here tonight, honestly. It's cool. It's good. It's good. Thank you all so much. Appreciate it. Yeah, that's right. Bob is over on Surviving the Survivor stream. Go check them out. I could probably portal you guys over there. Let me go through that real quick, actually. It actually looked pretty cool. They probably wouldn't notice at all. But still, we'll do it. Boom, right? I think this is it. Yeah, right here. Bob is going to be on there. Boom. Going straight over, guys. Thank you all so much. Appreciate the shit out of tonight. You guys are amazing. See you guys Thursday night. Let's fucking go. Oh, wrong one.
This hurts. I think